Most of the time, when creating responsive applications in Angular, we just need to use CSS and media queries. Every once in a while, though, we need to alter some interactivity or logic based on these same media queries, meaning we need to access them in some way from JavaScript, and this can get a little messy sometimes. Luckily for us, we can use the Breakpoint Observer utility provided by the Angular CDK. Let's check it out. To start off, we really should avoid doing this type of thing if at all possible. If we can simply change some style with a media query in CSS, that's going to provide the best experience. This technique should really only be used when style isn't the only thing that needs to be changed, like when logic or functionality is involved. Okay, so what is the Breakpoint Observer? Well, it's a utility that is part of the Angular CDK or Component Development Kit. And you can probably guess by its name, but it allows us to monitor media queries programmatically and then react to them as needed. It's probably easiest to understand through an example. So let's look at one. Okay, here we have this layout with our navigation next to our main content. And when we resize this smaller, the menu is hidden. We can toggle its display by clicking this button. So far so good. Where's the problem? Well, where the problem comes in is when we toggle the menu open, then resize larger, and then resize smaller again. The menu's still open. We don't want this. What we really want to do here is remove the class that makes this visible as soon as we resize to where the menu is always visible again. That way, when we shrink back down, it'll start off hidden again. So in our code, we're simply toggling this isVisible property when we click the button. Then we bind this visible class on our nav element when true. That class is what positions the menu and makes it visible. So we're going to want to set this property to false at the breakpoint where our menu becomes always visible again. All right, now to begin using the Breakpoint Observer, you need to have the Angular CDK installed. To do this, you just need to use your command line from within your Angular app and run this command. That will properly install the CDK and all of its dependencies so that we can use them. Now in this demo project, I've already installed it, so we're ready to just use it. We start by injecting it within our constructor. Now what we want to do is react when our browser is resized and the breakpoint that hides our menu no longer matches. Let's take a look at our CSS to see what this breakpoint value is. Okay, so it becomes hidden at a max width of 585 pixels. Now let's go back over to our ngOnInit method, and we'll access our Breakpoint Observer. Now we're going to use the observe method. This method takes either a single media query as a string or an array of media query strings. In our case, we have a single media query, so we'll add it. Now this method returns an observable that will fire with a value of a breakpoint state object which contains a matches Boolean value. This value will be true when we are matching our breakpoint, so it'll be true when we are narrower than 585 pixels. And since it's an observable, we'll need to subscribe. But before we do, we'll need to make sure to properly remove the subscription on destroy. So we add our pipe, then our take until destroyed, and then we pass it our destroy ref. Now we can add our subscribe. And we'll name the state object returned state. Okay, so when the state does not match, we'll want to set our isVisible property to false. The observe method fires with a value every time the viewport is resized, and it will simply set this property to true when it matches and false when it doesn't. So let's take a look. When we resize down, the menu is hidden. Then, when we open it and resize wider, and then back down, we see the menu is no longer open, just like we wanted. Cool. Now, one thing I don't like about our current setup is that we have our media query breakpoint in two locations, once in our CSS, and then again in our Breakpoint Observer observe method. This could be pretty error prone. If we were to change the breakpoint where our menu becomes hidden and then forget to update it in the Breakpoint Observer, things would not work as expected. So what I like to do is share this media query between the CSS and JavaScript, maintaining it in a single location. To do this, we move the breakpoint to a Sass variable that we can use in our media query. Then, on the host, I add a custom property with the same variable. For this, we need to use the Sass string interpolation for the variable because if we don't, the variable name with the $sign and everything will be the rendered value for this custom property. We obviously don't want that. So we'll use the hash and curly braces to get the string interpolated value of that variable. An important note here, unfortunately, we can't use custom properties in media queries. They just don't work that way, which is why I'm creating a Sass variable and then using it in these two locations. This keeps it in a single location for maintainability while allowing me to do what I need to do with both CSS and the Breakpoint Observer. Okay, so now that we have this custom property on our host, we can access its value from TypeScript instead of using the hard-coded value from before. To do this, we need to inject the element ref within our constructor. Then we can create a breakpoint variable. We'll set it to the computed style of our element ref's native element, and we'll get the value of the custom property that we just added. Now we can switch our code to use this breakpoint value instead. There. Now if we take a look again, if we open up our menu, then resize again, it works as expected. So this is pretty cool. It allows us to keep both the styles and functionality here in sync and should prevent some mistakes in the future. Something else that's pretty cool about this layout module from the CDK is that they provide some standard breakpoints based on Google Materials design concepts that we can just use if we want. Here's a list of all the breakpoints that they provide and their values. So there's quite a few to choose from out of the box. But how do you use them? Well, let's look at an example. For this demo, I've added a variable for our current visible breakpoint range, and it will be either small, medium, or large. This value is going to be rendered in a red bar at the bottom of our view once it's set properly. Now let's add an additional observe. This time, let's use an array of breakpoints. And we'll need to import breakpoints from the CDK layout module. Now let's pass it the small breakpoint, medium, and large. And just like the previous example, we need to make sure to take until destroyed, and then we can subscribe. This time, however, I'm not concerned with the state, and you'll see why in just a sec. Here we're going to use another feature of the Breakpoint Observer. We're going to check if our breakpoints are matched using the isMatched method. This method returns a Boolean value based on the media query passed to it, in this case, our small breakpoint. Here, we'll set our current range to small. Now, we can copy this and check for medium, and then again for large. And now we see our red bar at the bottom. And when we resize, it gets updated properly based on the media query that it matches. Pretty cool. Okay, so I hope that helps those of you out there who have a need for this type of thing in Angular. It's definitely come in handy for me in the past. Okay, so be sure to keep an eye out for more videos in the future showcasing some of the power of the CDK. All right, until next time, thanks for watching.